see what it's gonna load on all the way up like it did earlier today. Yeah, it's loading on up. Cause I know it sent a message too today about the bandwidth. I mean, I guess everybody's still on Zoom, but they trying to make sure everybody able to use it. I said I wasn't able to use it last week. All right, we should be live. Let me go over here and look. Kofi Piesie TV.
Y'all live yet?
Yeah, I'm I think we is. I'm going on the back end. It's saying it right here. Yeah, we live. Yeah, we just went live. Hold on, y'all. I'm alright, we should be. Yeah. Let me share it real quick. I like to keep it on my timeline too. Give me a second. All right. I'm gonna share it real quick. Man, that's the old Shawn. Okay, yeah, it is. All right, share. Disregard. Share the group. Damn thing, don't wanna. Hold on, y'all. Share the group. All right, it didn't want to pop up. Tootie. Tootie. I'm live, and you gonna help me. I'm gonna get a strike. You playing that music. Okay. Hold on, y'all. We finna get started. I'm trying to share it in a few channels. All right, hold on, 2 more, and we're gonna go in. All right, yeah, boys, America. All right, that's good. Hold on, let me go back here. So y'all give me just a minute. Oops, I don't even know if it went in and that. One more. Well, shoot, man, y'all can share the show. I ain't. All right. All right. I want to say, ETM Hotep, Dua, Aku, Dua, Netcher, Fatmu, Lafayette, Fatmu, Riri, Majuba, Iba, E, Gungun, Majuba, Iba, E, Gungun, Majuba, Iba, E, Lakba, Majuba, Iba, E, Lakba, Igungun, Kiki, Igungun. I always want to give honor and praises to the ancestors, because without the ancestors, we wouldn't be here. Literally, we wouldn't be here. We are our ancestors. Also want to give honor and praises to the true and living ancestors out there according to African traditions. Peace and Black African power. Welcome back to Kofi Piesie TV. Please like the show. Please share the show with those that you think that may be interested in this information. Peace to the few that's in the chat right now. Peace to those that may be coming in, falling in a little bit later, and peace to those that may be watching this in the archive. Welcome back to Kofi Piesie TV, family and affiliates. research team. We have brother Vasa Nicolo, brother T'Challa Bongara, and brother Niger Valley Civilzation, who we know as brother Sutekh, which also go subscribe to Niger Valley Civilization channel. That's our brother Sutekh channel. Brother T'Challa Bongara is going to be presenting. Today we're going to be holding a discussion. Vasa Vasa Nicolo Gullah, not Satip and Rob, but Sutekh, y'all got anything for T'Challa go in?
Peace, everybody. I'm almost back at the house, Kofi, so I'm gonna be on mute for a minute. Peace, everybody in the audience. Peace to the panel.
Okay. We need a sister, Sister Mika.
Peace to the fam, man. Like the show, share the show. We appreciate y'all coming through to Kofi Piesie TV to check us out today. Our brother T'Challa gonna be bringing a little information. Make sure to get your pen and your paper out. And again, like and share the show as you come in.
All right, so we're gonna turn it over to brother T'Challa. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen real quick. I think it's
and right away, a typo. See, me and you, Cole, we got that bad. We'd just be typing so fast, you be so, full with your thoughts and you trying to get them out that you just be throwing anything up there.
Where the typo at?
Right in the title. Centered.
Oh, you got centric.
Right. What type of spelling was I? Look, I passed spelling class and all that.
Yeah. Hold on. Oh shoot, I'm making it bad. Hold on. Damn, man. Nothing to it. African Center. We got it. I didn't even pay no attention to that, man. I ain't even lying. I didn't even pay no attention to that. I looked at it last night, but it was, like I said, I be up all night, and when I looked at it, made sure you sent an email last night, and I looked at it a while ago, still didn't pay. I didn't, didn't pay it no attention. But all right.
All right. So before we get started, just want to say peace to everybody. We're not out here claiming that we got all the information, but this is just how we look at things. And talked to Brother Kofi last night, just kind of some things I've been thinking about given the circumstances with how everybody reacting to, having to be on lockdown pretty much and, everything with the jobs and all of that. This is just something that I find some key principles to keep in mind as we navigate through these tough times. So as the title states, I have remaining centered, a discussion about maintaining good character while seeking comprehension of the phenomenon we call existence and our participation in it. There's a really fancy way to just saying how to keep a cool, level head while we doing this thing we call life. But I word it in this way because in Africa, existence is the phenomenon itself, the ultimate phenomenon. The fact that you have manifested is the greatest thing in the world, which is why what Brother Kofi was saying earlier about family and the importance and the roles that each person plays, what it means and how it affects the village life. And so as we seek out more and more information in terms of how to raise our kids, how to go about being Black in an oppressed society and everything else that we do to really piece together our story and figure out how do we do this thing called life, not from the perspective of media, of America or anybody else, but from how we choose to view ourselves and how we express ourselves. And we have to recognize that existence itself is a pretty marvelous thing. And we take that for granted each and every day. Um, so let's get into it. We'll go to the next slide.
Okay.
All right. This is something that I've been kind of dwelling on for a while, is that the concept of to the unlearned, everything is fascinating. Right? You know, when you first get into something and you really have an interest, everything about it is going to fascinate you. Everything is so new and fresh. And so, you know, given the light of the recent conversations, people are coming to try to understand this field of what we call linguistics. And you know, are you a linguist, and who's not a linguist, and are you a historian, or are you an archaeologist? And now all of a sudden everybody wants to be so fascinated with all of these schools of thought, when you got to slow down and understand each school of thought separately before we start mixing styles and thoughts together in order to create something that we call a story. Or we want to talk about our traditions from a perspective, and we don't even understand these fields of study that everybody seems to be either an expert on, or they have so much to say on about someone else who is practicing the field the right way, and they are demonstrating exactly the methods and the results of their methods. And you find these same people that have so much to say, they do not read the work. Um, and it's not to throw shots at anybody. This is just to call it like it is, because I've been guilty of it in the past, where I just jump off and scrutinize somebody's argument before really reading it. Yes, I've made those errors before, but it's 2020. And so how long do we have to keep making these errors before we really understand that to the unlearned, everything is fascinating? So you have to approach it like you got to get all the information you can get before you open your mouth about a particular subject. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So the first bullet point I have, with everyone being concerned about health, we need to understand immune systems and how they work in different life forms. So we've got this new strain of virus that everybody's worried about. Now, mind you, just because you see a person coughing and sneezing, they can just be having the sniffles that day. You know, my allergies have been kicking my butt the last 2 weeks. So, you know what I'm saying? We also have to remember the other things that we're subject to, along with this new quote unquote, some would refer to it as a living organism being a virus, but then other people in science debate that it's not a living organism. I'm gonna get into that a little bit later, but you know, understanding how immune systems work in different life forms is a very, very important issue, because you get confused as far as, you know, as the second bullet point here, what diseases can be transferred to humans? And of these, how many do we have treatments for? And so we get concerned about uh, uh, humans catching diseases from animals. And for a lot of people, their answer is, oh, well, don't eat animals, don't eat meat. Well, there's, you know, consequences to all your actions. And some diseases don't require you to ingest the animal in order to catch it. And this is part of allowing everything to be fresh and to come to you before you open your mouth, even if you know a little something about it. In certain contexts, if you're going to be negative, it is really best to just keep it to yourself, learn a little bit more, and you might discover that you might be onto something, or you might need to change your stance on the subject. And so my third bullet point for this slide is, we don't need to speculate about quote unquote man-made diseases. the actual diseases reproduce at such rapid rates and provide more than enough issues for the medical professionals globally. We still don't have cures for the quote unquote common cold and the various common strains of influenza that as a whole the human population seems to be adapted to for the most part. These things ain't going nowhere. And everybody's worried about the shiny new. Yes, it's serious, but we also have to be hygienic enough and sanitary enough about these other things that we still have to worry about in the interim. And then taking it from off the medical conversation for a second and applying it strictly to information and scholarship. There's a lot of corrections in history that we're trying to do when we go back and we start preaching about or talking about or lecturing or sermoning about being African centered. And that's what I could have titled it, but everyone by now should know that I'm an African centered person. So I felt that was just, it's redundant at this point, because what other perspective do I talk about coming from? And the way I look at it, we need to slow it down to understand all of these things. Some people don't even understand, still don't even know that this influenza is the full name of, the general body of viruses we call the flu. I said that to somebody the other week and they was like, the what? People out here really don't know the full name of things, common things that should be common knowledge. Somebody unmute their mic.
Oh, I did. Go ahead, man. I'm sorry.
No, if you wanted to say something, go ahead and jump in.
Oh no, I ain't want to say nothing at this time.
All right. We can move on. Okay. So this is a real big one for me. It's been brought up in numerous presentations on the Seshew Netcher channel. Just everybody, I've heard some of everybody that's legit and non-legit in terms of being pseudo with the information, talk about this particular logical fallacy, and that's confirmation bias. So speaking to still the circumstances we're dealing with understanding what's what with viruses, pathogens, diseases, bacteria, all of these words that we use interchangeably that mean different things depending on how you're talking about them. We need to remember that no matter your opinion, there is someone who agrees with you on the internet. And so if you're having a conversation with someone and the whole Google it thing is good for a start. So you can start off by pulling up somebody that verifies your argument, which means absolutely nothing. The way you want to really find out true information is you want to seek to find the opposing argument. And I have in parentheses, you will be humbled. Brother Kofi and I were talking about that one of the controversial presentations that he does on his channels. And the one that we did together, this was a lesson that I learned, and I wanted to have it publicly shown because too many of us lack humility and we lack the ability to have a slice of humble pie every now and again when it comes to information. My whole purpose in wanting to go forth and do the presentation was so that people can see how quickly you can be humbled no matter how much expertise you have with a particular people that you study or a particular group or any subject. And it's okay. Scientists are humbled all day, every day with trying to find out how to fight this thing and everything else because we still got to work on the rest of the field of science and studying, different things doesn't stop just because of this. Like every other field has to continue to work and move forward to solve the other problems that surround this. And so the truth is unapologetic and adulterated by our opinion. The truth is unapologetic and unadulterated by our opinion. We know that when we study in history, oftentimes what we find is what? The information is put forth by the ones who were victorious. And so that is exactly what we're here doing today, and what we've been trying to stay consistent with is to talk about and dealing with this thing that's been talked about called agency. And that is about having the right to talk about your thing, just as it was when oral tradition really ruled the day, which is why we can't throw that out. We have to really remember the importance of oral traditions, is that we need to talk about our story, and we do need to seek ourselves in the world in terms of what are successful, thriving Black people doing at different points in time, as we call it, and how were they solving their issues? Did they do it by hating on everybody, having an identity crisis, not being able to say nothing to nobody because everybody has an offend me box? Or did they come together and align with numerous different kinds of people for a common goal? No matter what you believe is, what your diet is, what your diet isn't, you're not safe because you're Black. You're not safe because you're vegan. You're not safe because of any of these other things. Everybody is on, it starts at zero. You have to learn about every single subject that you come in contact with. You have to learn about every single problem and what are the things that will help you solve these problems. You don't just magically have the answer because your skin is a little bronze and kissed by the sun. It doesn't work like that. And so common sense, I have here in quotes, is really not something we need to be trying to throw around either.
That's what's getting us, man. Not using common sense. I mean, we was I was over there on Sister Naya show not too long ago, and I hope she said she's gonna keep doing them. You know, she's been, you know, spreading information, you know what I'm saying, and bringing us bringing us awareness to the COVID-19, the virus, you know, different things that she discovered and she done read, and just the do's and don'ts, you know, and the same thing you was talking about the skin and us being super immortal and all these types of things. We're not using common sense, like, you know, we're coming with this virus, we thinking we take this and we take that, um, you know what I'm saying, we good, or we Black. Like when the virus first came out, um, all I was hearing was Black people can't get the disease. You know, you Black people can't get it. You know what I'm saying? And you know, and we say these things because, you know, we're not using common sense and we're not scientific literate, you know what I'm saying? So people can say anything to steer us in the wrong direction. And over the years, I mean, I'm not gonna throw shots or any names, but over the years, it's been a particular group of people, numerous of people that I can name like right off the top, because I'll be honest, those individuals, I used to look at their videos 10 years ago, and you know, they push this rhetoric that we are superhuman, and you know, we've been here longer than anybody else, and we can withstand this and we can withstand that, and you know, like we have all this, you know, these types of superpower, man, and and we're running with that. And even now, you know, we all love the phrase Black Power. You know, I use it a lot, Black African Power. But even with the Black African Power construct, you know, we ain't using common sense with that. You know, we anything that's happening or developing in nature, we think it's something that's been conjured up by the government. You know, and the government is attacking us, and the government is doing this, so we got to be anti-government. And we know the government done a lot of things to to our community. We know that. We know we have been under attack by the government, and et cetera, et cetera. But I mean, just the rhetoric of everything time something happened, we think it's something conjured and made up in the made up in the lab, and it's a conspiracy this and it's conspiracy that, and we use and we instead of researching it, you know what I'm saying, which a lot of us don't know number research, and you mentioned Googling, and Google is not the end all be all. You can't stop at Google. Google is a start, is a good start, but don't stop. Just don't stop at Google, man. But we got to start using some common sense, man. We really do got to start using um some uh some common sense.
And see, so when we use the phrase common sense in that context, absolutely, I agree, because that is when what we're talking about in terms of, am I just going to say what everybody else is saying, regurgitate, be part of the echo chamber just because somebody said something? There's the phrase that goes, a lie is a lie, no matter how many people believe it. But the truth is the truth, no matter who believes it. And, I, side note, I kind of get down with studying physics on a basic level, you know, dealing with the physics for dummy books and, stuff like that, that type of information. Research a lot of what Neil deGrasse Tyson says instead of just listen to him on YouTube like most people and say it sounds cool, it's good conversation pieces, and they go around regurgitating. No, I actually go and I look up some of the things that he talks about. And from a physics point of view, you cannot just think that one thing is going to be true and then step over here and expect that to be the same way. This is going back to earlier what I was talking about with viruses in terms of being considered living organisms and not at the same time when it comes to science. Certain scientists will tell you their theory is that viruses are not living organisms. Other scientists will tell you they do meet the requirements based upon what we're calling life and what it takes to be living. Um, that's a whole, those type of conversations are worth a whole discussion itself, because you have to get into what scientists qualify as a living animated being, one that can move freely on its own, and what they're calling beings that are living that are not, and then what they're calling living beings as a whole. So that's a whole nother study. Um, and we mix all these things together and we call, using, talking about things, oh, I get common sense. Well, in science, the common sense ain't got no place. There's no place there oh, what that should be common sense, because studying something that you have no clue about, you don't know the makeup of it, you can't just talk about what should be obvious knowledge or common knowledge with something, and you're dealing with something bizarre and foreign to you.
I think you need to reiterate that again about common sense because that's important to Charlie.
As far as speaking
How it
about things you
has
don't know.
no place in science.
Oh, right. It definitely it has, common sense does not have a place in science at all. Um, many of us have heard good brother Asar speak about this. I've heard Neil deGrasse Tyson say this. I have personal science friends with science majors. I have friends who they literally work in the lab, and they talk about this all the time. You cannot walk in the laboratory talking about you should have mixed the sodium whatever with the whatever. Duh, that's common sense. No, it's not. You don't just start mixing things in tubes in the lab. You know what I'm saying? That's a good way to get yourself hurt and thrown out of somewhere. They take that very, very seriously. You don't walk in no laboratory, nobody's surgery room talking about common sense and what should no, that type of terminology is not even used in the medical professional field or in any other scientific field that I've observed. And so we need to recognize when we're using terms for science, when we're talking about scientific things like, oh, the bacteria, this and that, and the viruses, and then the pathogens, and we using all these words together, and we talking about what should be common sense. So we just need to slow down for a second. Which brings me to the last bullet point. We must remember that the ignorance that is attached to our psyche due to colonialism during our participation in existence, right? At least last 400 or 500 years for us immediately here. We ain't dealing with all of the greatness of Africa right now. We just talking about immediately. This is a problem because ignorance, there's a lot of urban myth and falsehood just stooped in the community about certain things. You want to say something, Vasa?
Yeah. I put a book title in the chat, and I've thrown this out there a lot, but a lot of what y'all speaking on is actually covered in this book. And it's a book to help you get started in how to research in anthropology. But it goes beyond that. It goes into things like how to write. Kofi T'Challa, you know what? He literally breaks down for us to learn to start writing. Get into a group and just write small things and let them critique it and keep building. And as you're doing this, he's explaining that this also helps you by observational researching, because now you get to pick what it is you actually want to learn about. These are all connected into the learning process. Science versus non-science. He breaks down that the real issue is methodology versus ethics. But your ethics are going to change by culture, and it's going to change over time. What's ethical for us to do today, let's just keep it in the medical field, is not ethical, wasn't ethical 200 years ago. And you can keep going in these patterns and see these changes. But he highlighted something that I thought was fascinating. He calls the difference effect. And this is where a lot of us get easily misled with when it comes to certain information and certain paradigms. And in that, he's highlighting how if a surveyor is asking questions, let's say it's a black male asking other males questions, just due to the fact that's a black male, when he asks a white male questions, he's going to get different answers than what that white male would say to other white males, depending on the subject. It's no difference for a quick explanation. Me, Kofi, T'Challa, and Sutekh talking about parenting in private, we're going to give totally different answers to brothers, talking amongst brothers, than we would to our daughters, than we would to our mama, than we would to someone else, because we're going to be thinking for a different reason. When Kofi's, besides how you feel about being a father, him being a father and being a brother, I'm going to be trying to relate to things that I know he can relate to, versus me trying to convey a message to my grandmother, hoping it registers with her. But when we do these research things, we have to be mindful of all of that. You have to be mindful when the scientists are talking to you, whether they talking to the general public or they talking to other scientists. Do y'all get where I'm going? So a lot of that comes into play. I put the book in the chat. I'll do it again. If you can get your hands on it, audience, get your hands on it. It's pretty thick. I don't know how many pages it is. It's well off into 500 before I even start getting into the bibliography. But it's not hard to read. Just take a piece at a time. And it's broken up into multiple segments. So it's going to be something in there for you to help you. Now that's in the chat. I'll put it again in a little bit as well. And I'll go back to mute. But it's a good book for everybody to have.
Yeah, I see it. Research methods in anthropology, quality. What is that? What is that?
Qualitative and quantitative approaches.
Okay.
And that's what you want. You want to find the valid arguments. That's what we're talking about when we say proper methodology. Excuse me, y'all. My daughters came in. I'll be right back.
Mm-hmm. Appreciate that, Voss. I just asked him earlier. So a closed mouth don't get fed. You see that?
I'm back. I'm back, y'all. They just wanted to go outside and ride their bikes. Didn't want to interrupt the show. And while I got the mic, happy birthday to my daughter. She turned 17 this week. I'm gonna sneak that in.
Oh yeah, happy birthday on that one.
Sneak that in while she walking out. Embarrass her. Get my daddy on. But yeah, everything y'all saying is good. And when we got to the science ordeal, I really want y'all to highlight not the people on the panel, but the audience and all of us. That's one of the biggest arguments we ever gonna see when it comes to the realm of science. Whether they are just doing methodology versus the ethics of it. Them playing with atoms, does that give them the right because they learned the methodology to create nuke bombs? Is it ethical for them to do that? Is it ethical to cut up a human body to try to save it? Do you get where I'm going? These are the things that start creating these discussions and these other schools of thought and separating people when we all trying to get to the ultimate truth and the ultimate prime of living our lives to the best of our ability. So just be mindful of these things. It's not as complicated as we make it. Matter of fact, most of the time life only gets complicated when we make it complicated. So I'm gonna chime out and give the mic back because I didn't want to get to talking. I hate being called long-winded for baby long-wind.
Hey, boss, that's crazy. You just posted that book. I searched for it, and I had it in my library and didn't even know it.
I be throwing it out there. You probably seen it before. I mean, I've been saying it for like 2 or 3 years. Well, in chats. So
you got the hard copy, or is it a PDF for it? Or?
I got the PDF.
Oh, you're gonna have to send that, buddy. You're gonna have to send that.
I got you.
Oh yeah.
and just be clear, he makes reference to African Americans. You can find yourself in this book. That's one of the things. That's one of the things I want all of us to be okay to say, that we can find ourselves in world history. Don't limit it. Hopefully I want to put in sometime soon, I want to attack that term African American, and I'm coming for everybody in the United States, because you leave out so many other people when you say African American, when you really mean to say I'm an African United States citizen. Because when you African American, that can encompass Canadian, that can encompass Mexico, that can encompass Colombia, Peru, and all these places where we got brothers and sisters and extended family members lost in time and space, and we leaving them out. You get where I'm going? So we need to encompass all of that. That's what kind of makes us different from the rest of the world. And that was the whole point of starting that Pan-African movement. Knowing you got brothers from your village that just got separated from you, but you know where they at, you may not be able to get to them. The idea is, if we unite, we have a better chance in this fight of survival. So let's not separate the flock from our own self by being stuck in this arrogant culture. But let me go back to mute, because I'm gonna keep thinking of stuff and I'll keep talking.
All right, so there we go, family. Got another great read. We can go on to the next slide. This is a real big deal for me, with people just kind of being one-track minded with having conversations and receiving information, and realizing that multiple facts can be true simultaneously. Especially when you deal with Africa and you talk about deities and what a deity might mean for the Yoruba people, and then you come over here to Central Africa somewhere what we're calling the Democratic Republic of Congo today, and you got deities meaning X, Y, and Z that might line up with the Yoruba people. Then you go back to West Africa, you go to the Akan people, and you see that their deities line up with the Yoruba too, and then the Igbo lining up. And so all of these people are lining up with things, and multiple things are true simultaneously. This is a real important thing to understand when we start talking about if you want to believe in a God or if you don't want to believe in a God. And you want to talk about, I don't want to believe in nothing that's got nothing to do with the word. And that's cool if you want to have that opinion. It's perfectly fine. And it's not because I'm saying it's fine. It really is. I never lose sleep over what you want to choose to think and feel is true for yourself and how you define yourself, because I'm defining myself. And I have no problem with someone that expresses how they feel they want to talk about what guides their life, if they're spiritual, religious, whatever title that they give themselves, that's what you choose to do. But for me, you got to understand what that when you start talking about different forms of deities in Africa, multiple things are true for these deities at the same time. The deity might be, the wind might be deified, but then the wind also has cultural nuances that you're not going to understand unless you deal with the language. And so aspects about the wind deity might also be true for the water deity for a certain people. But you won't understand that because you just going off of, oh, well, I thought they only had one God. They got a wind god, a water god, and a tree god. How they gonna have all them gods? And that's one of the first things I heard from other Black people scrutinizing me for studying my own traditions. You know,
Hey, can we get someone to look the word deified up? Deity and deified.
yeah,
You
I'm
keep
not on.
going, but I want somebody to look those words up too.
Okay, no problem.
Anybody on the panel? Well, I mean, anybody in the chat or anybody on the panel can look it up. You keep going, man, because I want to look them where I'm asking for a reason, because what you talking about. Go ahead.
Okay. Um, so let me go ahead and move through the bullet points because I don't want to drag this out. So understand the biological diversity, because I was in the kind of the uh medical field and virus mind as everybody's been lately when I was kind of making this. So understand the biological diversity, both for times like now and just any time. It is never not a good time to sit there and just look up some information about, I don't know, hippopotamuses, crocodiles, birds. We ain't even got to get that exotic. We can deal with just the common style of birds that you see in your city around you. Look up squirrels, foxes, coyotes, anything, any animal that you can think of that comes to mind. Because this is what we've been doing for a very, very long time. And there are those of us who dedicate our villages to studying certain animals, and certain animals are associated with certain villages. Certain people got the turtle and rock with the turtle hard. And as a matter of fact, good brother, sorry, we were having a conversation a few days before we did the show earlier this week. And he was talking about something about if he has some information on Egyptian turtles and so forth and so on. And before you know it, we was just kind of sitting there like, man, like that is actually true once you sit and think about it, because when you study indigenous traditions, their ecology is everything. So you might be studying some on some quote unquote Egyptian turtles. You might find some same information in the Congo. You might find some information somewhere in South Africa. You might find some information over in off the coast of West Africa with their turtles. And you might find some things that you didn't find in none of them that you didn't expect to find. Like you just amazed once again. To the unlearned, everything is fascinating. So before we open our mouths about not wanting to subscribe to certain ideas and certain concepts, maybe we shouldn't even use certain words to describe things in other cultures. As soon as we use certain terms, we automatically out of bounds, right? Um, you know, a double dribble does not apply on the football field. But we'll turn around and talk about somebody fumbling. Oh, he double dribbled. No, he fumbled. It's not the same thing. Oh, he traveled. It's a football. He running. What you mean? There's no bouncy bounce going on like that. Like this is how silly we sound when we make transsubstantive errors and other logical fallacies because we just talking about things and we don't know what we don't even know that we don't know. We so unconsciously incompetent. We don't even know what we don't even know.
Can I
We just
piggyback off of that real quick?
go ahead.
Just to throw a what y'all call them, dagger. The worst one of all to me still to this day is 1 minute we want to uphold ourselves egotistically. I'm a man, I'm a God, I'm a this. And then the very next moment when it comes to relationships or the way we live our lives, we want to compare ourselves to animals. Girl, go in there and do what I said because I'm a man and I run the house, I'm a king. But can't no man be faithful to one woman because it doesn't happen in nature amongst the animals. So which one are you? Are you a savage animal or are you a man and a God? And that's where I play with that. Certain words don't go into certain contexts the way we're using it. We got to be careful of what we're doing. We can't play that game. I hope y'all got where I was going with that because I don't want to stop your build, but that one right there personally drives me crazy.
No, I'm with you on that because most males, especially if you work out or if you got any sort of physical strenuous activity and maybe your job is real physical or just most men, and I'm talking about most men that I want to say with the typical 21st century mindset living in America today, like, a lot of us got a lot of macho man ego situations going on, no matter how big or small. You can sit there and say, "Oh, I'm not that type of dude," but every single one of us got a little bit of extra testosterone at times. We don't need to have that extra testosterone. Okay. I'm never the dude that'll sit here and act like I don't have flaws. Like it take one to know one. And that's why I speak about things the way I do. Because yeah, I tell yep, I was wrong, or nope, this wasn't what it was, or oh, okay, thank you for correcting me. Yeah, but it took me a while to get to this point. See, everything for me is like the music that I play and study. It will humble you in 2 seconds. Running out here calling yourself a professional musician, and you turn around and you didn't anticipate traffic time, and so Chicago got one of the worst traffic situations in the country, and you end up being late to the gig, and now I got to fire you, or somebody else got to fire you. Like it's so easy to liken yourself to something and to not even know the true meaning of it, to what it means to be a king. Kings are for the people. The people are not for kings. It's not for the king to have people. The king is supposed to be there to serve the people, not tell, you know, his queen or one of his wives, depending on what customs he practices, that they have to, talk to them a certain way just because he's quote unquote king when a woman put him there. If we talking about Africa indigenously. But I don't want to stay on that too long. Like I don't want to lose nobody. Recognizing the complexity of life. Um, this is real important. You know, people get confused and talk about what black people disease, what we can't catch, what we can catch. People got to understand that life is very, very complex. So the factors of determining who can catch something depends greatly upon other factors that black people typically aren't aware of because not all of us are in the medical field or not all of us are in such and such field and so forth and so on. So just keep that in mind that life is more complex than what you think. The government is not behind everything, like Brother Kofi was speaking on. And I put / the omnipresent and omnipotent deity of any Abrahamic faith. What do I mean by that? Because every time something happens, the government is to blame. And so that ultimately means that your greatest despair, as well as your greatest successes and triumphs, depend upon the government. When the government send that check, when you get that job and, you know, you're able to do certain things because of regulations, because the government passed certain laws. So now you can, you know, partake in certain activities a little bit more because that's what you like to do. No, the government, then, you know, thank quote unquote God for the quote unquote government. And every time something bad happened, the government did this, the government that. It's like, dude, like have some accountability for your own actions. Humans have been adding to the inevitable climate change in ways that we shouldn't be for the longest. And just today I was looking at some stuff about how the air is there's reports of the air showing signs of less pollution, waters are cleaner, and that there's signs that the ozone layer itself is already showing stages of healing itself. Just within this short period of time of a certain percentage of the population of the earth being on lockdown as far as our species. And so everybody ain't driving their cars as much as they can. And everybody ain't working at every factory, at every business, pumping out every single fossil fuel that they can. And so a little bit less, yeah, I think that does. In that sense, I would use the word common sense. Yeah, emit less fossil fuels and maybe we might get a little bit cleaner air. Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense to me. This is one of the main problems we need to solve is our energy crisis. So the government cannot be the quote unquote God as in an Abrahamic faith God. This one dude or this one body and entity that's able to control every single thing, and everything that happens, good or bad, is attributed to this one thing. That sounds a lot like the God of the Bible to me. And there's flaws and too many loopholes in that story for it to really hold up the way people believe it to hold up literally. So what I'm trying to figure out is, how do we really solve these issues? How do we really blueprint for Black power? When do we care enough to stop holding on to things that don't help us move forward, as far as ideology? I have down here microbiology / microscopic organisms evolve at rapid rates. Several species of viruses exist simultaneously. So these are things that are happening all the time. Within the field of microbiology, you learn that these small organisms are evolving at such rapid rates that several species of them are existing simultaneously. This people don't understand this because that's why they're confused, and everybody's mad at people getting tests, and people that aren't emitting symptoms are spreading the virus, and we don't know who's spreading the virus. And all of this confusion is frustrating. I get it. But you got to understand that multiple facts can be true simultaneously. You cannot show any symptoms and be sick as a dog. Excuse my lack of sensitivity towards the canine family. But you can literally be sick and don't know it. Call it the ghost incubation period, what I call it personally. Because you around here ghost like you can't even be detected, and you in the incubation period as a virus speaking to, and you just infecting everything. That's fascinating to me. Again, to the unlearned, everything is fascinating. I let myself be humbled by nature all the time. Natural diets alone do not protect Black people from diseases. Because if it was that easy, our kings and queens of quote unquote ancient Kemet, yo, for those that are versed and can go into the text and read and find out the ages of the kings, We know that the kings were living to X amount of years, and it really ain't no whole lot of kings living past a certain point. We can go to any ancient peoples and records written about certain peoples, and we can talk about how old they lived to be, like actual records of how old these people were. We can go back 50 years in this country, 100 years in this country, which is about half the country's history, like really, like in terms of America. But we can go back and we can see how long the life expectancy was of people living in as far as what was the average life expectancy, how old you were expected to live. We got to understand that the more and more the medical field advances, the longer we live. If we're able to better equip ourselves and prevent certain things, that's more than half the battle. Stop thinking that getting infected with something is just going to make you this. You think you're going to become immune, so you make yourself as part of the superpower psychological complex we got going on. Oh, you done got sick and made it, so you all right, boy. You can't get it. You know, you invincible now. And so we think that. You ever heard of a relapse? Not in terms of from drug use. I'm talking about you can get sick and relapse, be getting better, but you have a relapse, be back in the hospital with the ventilator and everything else. Like it's real. If natural foods were okay, then nobody in Africa should be sick then that really eat natural, farm grown and hunter gatherer food. Like nobody should be sick then. We got to do better with our information and we plan ourselves psychologically when we stoop to these levels of being so gullible and naive with information.
Man, you making some valid and some great points, man. I mean, you just made me look at it like that. I mean, but like you, what you were saying, like for eating healthy, it still's not going to stop you from getting sick. Saying it can prevent you from getting it. Maybe catching something here and there, but it's not going to stop you from getting sick. And how a lot of people in the quote unquote conscious social media community, we have our brothers and our sisters trying to tell us if we eat what is it, moringa and turmeric and what is it, bladderwrack and eat this different type of plant, this type of vegetable, and you do this and you're able to stay, and this is able to keep you healthy, where you're able to not get sick and contract these viruses and other types of diseases or whatever that they be trying to sell us. I mean, so you just making a lot of, you making a lot of points. I mean, and a lot of our people, um, buy into buying all these different things. Like I'm talking about the bladder rag, all this other type of stuff that they try to sell us on that we take to boost our immune system, to do this for this cell, for that cell, for the flow of the blood, and you know how they be talking and all this type of stuff. And if you do this, and they talk this rhetoric like if you do all this, then you become this superhuman. You know what I'm saying? You become this superhuman and you can deflect all these different things that uh Mother Nature may bring, man. So yeah, good man. That's good, man.
And that's what happens when it's done for profit instead of good intentions.
Yeah.
That's really what that stems from. All of that is for profit. And that's an old argument that people have been making for 2,000 plus years. But on that nutrition thing, just to keep it in perspective for everyone to be able to go home with it. What happens when those things you deem healthy for you and you eat it every day and it's healthy for you, you give birth to a child and that child is allergic to it? Do you no longer claim your child? Is he no longer part of the village? Is he no longer African? Is he something else because he's allergic to milk and you're not? is what I'm trying to say.
That's a very good question you bring up. And I was going to say, being one who was in the fitness industry for a couple years, you know, we have to study a lot of anatomy. So I got an anatomy interest from a few different angles personally in my life. One, from just being naturally curious about the world and phenomenon we call existence. Just everything about, like, what makes up every single living thing, what makes up every tree, what is a tree, what is the bark, like what cells make it up. Yes, I was that dude. Um, and I had all of the geek friends in school. And we used to sit back and kind of talk about some of this stuff, not in a deep level to this extent, but your family traditions play a role in terms of what you're going to grow up eating. And we face that, one of those common issues in our community, as being alienated by the rest of the family because maybe you are allergic to a particular food, but that's part of the tradition to eat that certain food. Or maybe you don't want to believe anymore that the Jesus Christ is not your Lord and Savior. Maybe you're done with that chapter of your life. It's okay to move forward and to find, where you fit, or not even where you fit. You just need to continue to move forward. That's your journey, and it's okay. And to what we need to practice as far as better family values as a whole in the Black community is to not alienate your children because they don't want to believe as you've maybe taught them yourselves, or whatever the status quo is as far as religion and that particular culture that's associated with your group of people, like Black people in America. Typically Baptist Christian, you 85% okay going around with the same, in terms of if you was to, with that type of ideology. That's very widely accepted amongst Black people. Long as you believe that Jesus Christ is the Lord and Savior, you won't be alienated. And as long as you eating the ham, hock, and greens and the chitlins and whatever else, and maybe you're not that extreme. Maybe some families don't do it all. Some families eat certain things. It doesn't matter. Point being, we need not alienate our family members for being born different, or for being choosing to follow a different path. Now, am I saying you have to accept it? No, because there's some things that go on today that I definitely wouldn't accept, and I don't accept personally. I just keep it to myself. Fine, but the point being, we need to not just be thinking that our food is going to be quote unquote the best thing for us because we deem it healthy. And yes, when your children are allergic, you have to change for your kids. Something has to change. You're not finna just feed them something and purposely make them sick. I hope not, because you say it's healthy. If they're allergic to it. I've seen cases like that at the gym with parents and their kids right before we work out, trying to force their kids to eat some stuff. And the kid is crying, "Mommy, the doctor said I was allergic to, I don't know, something, nuts or walnuts, almonds, something." And almonds is a very popular fitness, industry lifestyle snack. And a lot of people cannot eat nuts. They can't eat walnuts and pistachios and cashews and almonds, and they can't, peanuts and all that. So what do? You have to prescribe something different for those people to eat in their diet plan as their personal trainer. But let's go ahead and move on because we've been on here for quite a while already.
Oh, next slide.
Yeah, my fault, brother Kofi. Next slide. Mm-hmm. So, right, wrapping it up, key things to look up. Scientific terms versus layman's terms, what I kind of mentioned earlier, knowing the difference between a theory and a theory, one of the common ones. There's so many other, a person and a person. I hear a lot, Sable Jones specifically talk about this, being his expertise working with legal proceedings in the nature. Knowing the difference between a person and a person, that's a big one. One of the ones I like to use with that, and I'm gonna move on, is the difference between kill and murder. We use those terms interchangeably: to murder something or someone, and to kill someone, taking someone's life. There's a big difference in the court of law, right, between the two. And that goes for a lot of things that we out here talking about. We use things interchangeably that we should not be using. Brother Kofi did a presentation earlier today about polygyny and polygamy. Taught me something because I thought he was butchering the word too, but he's sitting here dropping some information, something to be paid attention to. In terms of that. So we need to be mindful about using terms that and it goes back to, if you don't know about something, then maybe you shouldn't really speak on it to the extent that we catch individuals doing so. I've had people come at me about certain things that I've presented about the drum and this and that. And I ask them a few certain key questions about specifics with the Malinke culture and how the music works, and they can't answer them. And I know they can't answer them because they want to act like they know a little something because they learned a particular rhythm and they heard that the meaning is different and that it ain't really called what I said it was called on the hangout. I don't care. You know what I'm saying? Because guess what? Multiple things can be true at the same time. Certain people might call that rhythm whatever name that you was taught. And then from the information that I'm taught, I'm coming from a different village of people, obviously. Africa is a very big, you got all different types of people with their different customs, and they might all be a Yoruba in this group, but it's different kind of Yoruba. It's not just one Yoruba language. It's not just one Igbo language. It's not just one dialect of Akan. It's not just one type of ancient Egyptian, Netcher spoken word. Like, no, you got different, and it's reflective in the writing. Old, Middle Kingdom, and New Kingdom. Old Kingdom, Middle Kingdom, and New Kingdom. Different texts. Knowing the difference between what's this and what's that all comes in the context and into play. Microorganisms and how they function. I reiterated that a few times on this. Just really understand that in these times. It's going to help us have a scope on this problem in terms of the timelines that we're looking at in these various phases, because it's just getting started. It's just being real. It's just getting started. So mammals in general, studying mammals in general, what we are, who we are, when we are, why we are, more specifically our immune systems, and what are our strengths and weaknesses within nature. There are certain pros and cons to being a mammal in this thing we call existence. To participate as a mammal, we got a lot of benefits. Highly intelligent life forms, capable of many, many, many things. Very fascinating to study, the study of mammals in general. Very fascinating. How many places in the world operate under current conditions or worse in terms of being on semi-lockdown, semi-martial law status? Can't go out, can't congregate. You can't be seen talking to X amount of people or to certain kind of people. In some countries, women and men can't even really openly converse in public like that. Like, women cannot openly address men. And coming from an African-centered man, that just sounds so crazy to me. I know there's state traditions that we talk about respecting people and understanding why they are, but we don't got to accept it, African or not. And I don't accept certain things like that for me personally. You telling me that the woman cannot openly talk to me in public if she's not my wife? That is absolutely crazy to me when chances are my first words come from my mama. That's probably one of the first things, probably one of the first voices I'm gonna hear is the woman's womb that I'm being cultivated in and developed in. Many people live much worse than what we trying to adjust to in America right now, people. And we all need to calm down, check our attitudes, because everybody out here just everybody on edge and irritated. Blood types, understanding different blood types to speak to the conversation of who can catch certain diseases. We know that with certain blood types, you're more susceptible to certain diseases within nature. This is what we call common sense, if we want to use that term. This is known. This is one of the ways you determine who can catch what. You got to understand what type of, and that even goes within the fitness industry. knowing a person's blood type actually it's like a couple extra sprinkles on the cake, like when it comes to the fitness industry, if you know what you're doing. Because now I know I'm not going to tell you to eat certain foods because it's going to cause for inflammation, and you're not going to be able to work your joints the way I want to have them worked and warmed and lubricated. So your muscles are going to be sore and trying to overcompensate. You know, it's so much that goes into life, understanding and putting it all together. And so my basic point was just to really get people to realize that the more you're going to learn, the more you realize you don't know nothing. You got to take everything as another layer of the onion. Just learn a little something, realize that this is a lot of information, and realize that it's a lot more behind it and that goes into it. Don't take things out of context and stop using interchangeable terms interchangeably that don't need to be used interchangeably. And somebody has something?
Yeah, I did. I wanted to touch on your multiple facts can be true at the same time idea in a different way so the audience can run with it. What's today's date? Anybody?
I believe it's the 29th.
But if we was in Africa, what's today's date right now?
Well, that would depend on the people.
It's already the 30th.
Oh, I get you. I was going a whole nother way. My fault.
Yeah, it's already the 30th. And we
right.
Keep doing this. Sutekh, what time is it in your city?
It is 4:45.
It's 6:45 in Oklahoma. So if I say it's 6:45 and Sutekh calls me a liar because it's 4:45, which one of us is right?
Great point.
Mm-hmm. Do you understand now? So a lot of it comes into play with human nature. You're going to have to also use your discernment to know what's true for you, and don't take away what's true from somebody else. It's true that my father and my mother's name is father and mother through my eyes, but through my grandparents' eyes, that's my son. Do you understand? But we talking about the exact same person with the exact same intention to express love and a place of belonging and familyhood and all those things. Now, if my grandparents told this story and they the whole time, son, 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 and the audience got used to reading his character only identified as son, and then I come in on the scene and I start saying, no, that's wrong. His name is father. Now the audience is forced to use discernment to figure out what they want to call him. And then we lose track of what he actually did with his time on earth. Do you understand where I'm going with that? And that hinders a lot of us. So be mindful of these things, that, yeah, there can be multiple facts. And there is ultimately one truth that we all trying to get towards. But don't destroy nobody else's truth if it's working for them. If it's a hindrance to people and you know it's not true and it's not a fact, then yeah, by all means, correct it. Because then at that point, you're no longer being truthful and you're no longer contributing to the facts. You're contributing to the lies and deception and misleading ideas. So I just wanted to throw that out there. And hopefully that kind of registers with people. You can just use that as an example. Earth's gravitational pull, and our rotation around the sun, and this idea of time and all these other things, just like Sutekh doing there, it's relative to space. As I'm speaking, I seen it popped up on the screen. So how do we even know it's the 30th or the 29th? We don't know, but it helps us get along as far as our day-to-day routines to say, Kofi, I'm gonna call you at 5 on the 29th. Do you understand why we use these things now? And now we have the word, and now we have these sciences, and now we have these books and researchers to help us, not to destroy us. And for all the conspiracy theories out there, if you're jumping on with that ideology and you see the conspiracy, you already one step up. You know what they up to. Now, what are you going to do to stop that from conspiring? It's very, very simple when you stop making it so complicated. That's all I'm trying to get to. I'll go back to mute.
Yeah, real quick. on the last point about mammals, learning about mammals in general and what our strengths and weaknesses are in nature. I want to say even within not just in mammals, we can magnify that and say even within species, you see these changes that are made to adapt to certain situations. For example, in Homo sapiens, humans, even when within us, we have differences that play on our strengths and weaknesses uh, to develop those strengths and weaknesses via the situation that we're in. For example, brown skin that we have comes from our ancestors' ability to evolve biologically to better fit the uh, the equatorial climate and weather that they were in. Just the same for white people. Um, in their environment, that pale skin was a strength for them, and place them in our environment, and it will be a weakness. So it's no uh, de-evolution or devolution. That's no such thing. That's not scientific. All people evolve to adapt to whatever situation they're in. Now, once we're taken out of that certain situation, we might have weaknesses. So there's your strengths and weaknesses, even within a certain species. That's all I have.
Absolutely. I believe this about think we're at the end, brother Kofi. Let's see what's next. Yeah,
Yeah, that was the last slide.
cool. Thought so. Yeah, I wasn't trying to come up here and be like giving no professor lecture type of thing. This is just things to keep in mind and how my mind works when I approach the world itself. Like that example about things being relative to space and time is really about we everything about we deal with time is about how much of us is facing towards the sun and where we at in our rotation around the sun and orbiting the sun. Like everything's revolved around that. Like it's you get off of Earth and time is a whole nother situation. You get out of the solar system, time is another situation. Is relative. What is a 5 o'clock on the 29th? Like that, what is that? No, you got this asteroid here. You got this other ball of matter here. Got a planet over there. Like that's what you're dealing with space. You know, um, and realizing how small we are. That's a humbling experience. But then we got to remember that there are multiple worlds within nature, and that's what our ancestors was talking about when they go into their different various cosmogonies. They're describing things that modern science talks about. Not on no pseudo stuff. I've got information on this too. I've just been waiting to drop it in my personal project. But in terms of understanding various fields of science from an African perspective, utilizing African words to describe certain modern medical terminology, such as a wave particle, and or is it a wave or is it a particle? If you really want to get technical, up quark, down quark, strong and weak force, electromagnetic force, all of these different things that I do get down with. And I try to map certain African words that would describe the same term. Part of my synthesizing, whatever word I just made up, process, being Black, going through the experience that I'm having as a Black man in this space and time.
But that ain't fair. T'Challa, you grew up in Wakanda. Y'all a whole scientific city.
Man, look.
My fault, y'all. We gotta laugh too.
Oh, absolutely, bro. Absolutely. But look, that I ain't want to hold, continue to hold nobody. I hope people can take some things away from the presentation. Excellent points, and it's kind of how I wanted to have it. It's having some feedback and counsel when I present. That's kind of how I like to do things. In case I'm wrong on something, or just great points that were added like today. It's just always good to get input in what other people think, because it's not about me, it's about we. So I hope y'all, learn a little something. And for that book that was dropped and those other points, please go back and rewatch and grab those jewels. And with that, I'll turn it over to Brother Kofi.
Yeah, man. Good, man. Good deal. I like the deal, man. Again, man, we appreciate everybody that tuned in, man. Watched. Appreciate everybody was in the chat, was pretty much participating, and I can tell, they was, listening to the bill, man. I hope somebody took some away from it, man. We're gonna have more shows like this. We want to try to keep interacting with each other, interacting with people on the panels, with the bill. Good job, brother T'Challa. I'm sorry, y'all. Um, but I hope we gonna make boring popular. We gonna make it popular. I understand. I know y'all. I know y'all think we boring. When we do things, man. It's okay. It's simple. We gonna make being smart, and boring is okay. Cause right now, being
Yeah,
loud and crazy, and misinformed and uneducated, is the thing. But we gonna try to change that, man. We really gonna try to change that, man. Um, y'all, please go to Kofi Piesie, www.kofi reading compositions, wordpress.com, and get my new article, Beautiful African Hair. Please, let's stop using the other N word. Um, if you have some daughters, you have a wife, a fiance, a sister, a mother, an auntie, get this article to them. I target the article to the women. It's for everybody to read, but I targeted most to the women, and I'm just speaking from uh my personal opinion, or my own personal, I ain't gonna say opinion, my own personal experiences. I don't know about anybody else's experiences, but I know from me being young to a 43-year-old middle-aged man, the terminology of the other N word, I'm not gonna say what the other N word is, just in case anybody hasn't read it. You know what I'm talking about when I mention the other N word. But the other N word, it has been excessively spoken by our own beautiful African American women, our beautiful Black women, or our beautiful African women, our beautiful women of African descent, speak this N word a lot. And I understand, and I explain why I understand why they say and do things, from the effect from the slave trade, um, as well as out of being freed from the slave trade, the different effects that happened and things that they had to do, So please check out that article.
Give him a hint, Kofi. He ain't talking about Niggar or
Yeah,
ER.
I ain't talking about the Nigger word neither. The other N
I,
word.
I know what I know what he's talking about. The other N word is non-sufficient funds. I want to go on record and say this though, because I've never seen it happen. Somehow, T'Challa made Kofi put on his professor glasses, so we officially have Professor Kofi Piesie has manifested and deified himself as an African scholar.
I'm blind, man. I had lost my glasses. I hadn't been wearing them, man, but I found them when my fiance found them. Man. I've been trying to wear them, You know, but I will have that title. I will have that title soon.
You look sharp. You look sharp. You look all
Yeah.
professional now.
I'm blind as a bat, so I'll
With
be trying to keep them on. But I will have that title though, Professor. Give me 3 more years. I have my PhD, and
we
I
giving
will.
it to you now.
Yeah, I will be Professor.
You just gotta wait 3 years to hang it on the wall for you to read it. We gonna call you that now,
Nah,
no matter what you say.
So you got 3
Because
more years.
this is a fact. We just don't have the ability to say it's true yet, but it's still a fact. How about that?
Yeah.
And time is relative, so we can just say we astro project to your graduation 3 years from now.
Nah.
Everybody grab a piece of copper, clap your hands 3 times.
Oh
Say
man.
this, no place like Wakanda.
Yeah, man.
This is gonna be dope though, Kofi.
And we and y'all, we appreciate the support, man, because we got some news that's coming, some big news that's coming, man. And you know, we've been mentioning it the past 2 weeks. And I think April the 12th, we'll announce it on April the 12th what we're talking about, man. I think the people gonna like it. I know I'm excited about it. You know, I hope everybody else is involved in the project. Kofi Piesie Families and Affiliate Research Team has a project, and we'll talk about the project and what's coming. Like I said, I'm excited, but April the 12th, once we get.
Can I sneak them in? Because I kind of want to get a survey on this. Can I sneak with my ideas on that, Kofi? Because this is what I want to give you. I think I mentioned to y'all already. I want to put together a piece of paper and title it "Were African Americans America's first form of artificial intelligence?" And just break it down how they used us as machines and reprogram the way you think, you talk, and you view the world, making you an artificial person. And if so, with them now breaking into actual artificial intelligence, where is your place come the future? We need to start thinking this way. And since that seems to be a buzzword, I kind of want to go back to it, highlight it, bring us up to speed from the past, and try to spark ideas to start looking towards the future. And if I can get, the audience to say, yeah, I'm kind of interested in that, I'll go ahead and start putting that together.
Yeah, that's that. I think that's
instead of dehumanizing you, because I'm trying to really show you something. I'm trying to show they needed you. They needed your brain. They needed your skills. All the things they tell us we didn't have, I can go back now and I can prove they needed you. So by making you an artificial being, by removing you from who you are, were you a form of artificial intelligence? Was you? That's why they needed you to do so much. That's why they were so towards it, because it was a high dependency on you. Not that they didn't need you. If they didn't need you, they wouldn't have brought you here. We got to flip this whole script upside down. Otherwise, we're going to keep carrying this brokenhearted and this broken spirit and this resentment towards life itself. Now, we can resist all the oppression all day long, but don't you dare for one moment allow another Black man, woman, boy, or girl to continue resenting life itself or themselves. We got to highlight every form of your greatest potential for each other. And that's not Blackology, that's not Afrocentric, that's just pure love. That's nothing else. That's just love. Don't need to be defined as nothing else. And I'll get quiet because I don't want to get too long-winded.
Oh, no, you good, man.
I do want to know if that's Alabama Crimson or OU Red, though.
I don't know what that is, man. I don't know. And my hair ain't combed. A lot of times I don't care. I'm at home. My hair ain't combed. My beard ain't combed. I'm at home. When I know I go live, I like to have my camera open. So, y'all just got to deal with it. deal with my hair uncombed and my beard ain't combed. I'm at home. I'm in the comfort of my own home. If y'all don't like it, so what? I ain't nobody had no problem with it. I'm just saying. I know they probably be like, Kofi hair ain't never combed when he when he go live. Well, I'm
Stop
at
eating
home.
them cookies.
You have a question.
Yes. What is 3,000 plus 300,000?
She said, what is 3,000 plus
300,000.
300,000? She got a question for the audience. Let's see if they can answer.
My answer is chocolate milk and cereal. That's where I'm going with this.
She's shaking her head at you. Sutekh said 303,000 too. See right there? They answered it right. See? She said, okay. She's with.
She had to make sure, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, but anyway, man, like I said, man, y'all, we appreciate y'all, man. And be on the lookout for the big project. It's a big project, y'all. It's coming. I know y'all gonna appreciate it. I'm excited. I know when we announce it, I know y'all gonna be excited. I know y'all gonna support it. We just don't want to talk about it too prematurely. But once everything is turned in on the 12th, it'll be official like a referee with a whistle. And we'll announce what we're doing, and then we'll give the dates on what the project is, the name, blase contribute, all this stuff. We'll give it out. But again, y'all could have been doing anything else with y'all time, but y'all tune in to listen to what we had to talk about, man. So we greatly appreciate that, man. Appreciate the support. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully we'll see y'all again next week. Y'all be safe out there. Protect yourself. Um, practice good hygiene. Um, listen to what's going on in your state. Practice, if you're in quarantine, stay in quarantine. Practice what is it? Social, what is it?
Distancing.
Social distancing. Only go out if you need to go out. Other than that, stay home. Stay home. And again, we appreciate it. Black African Power. We'll see y'all again on Kofi Piesie TV. We may be coming. We may be doing. I'm off. I may be every day that I'm off. I didn't do anything Friday. I was off Friday. I had a lot of stuff to do around the house Friday, and Saturday I could have did something, but I didn't do anything. But hopefully tomorrow and Monday while I'm off, I'll be able to come on. Maybe tomorrow I'll be able to talk about the article, go live, pull the article up and just talk about the article, the importance of the article, why I wrote the article, some of the things that I highlighted in the article, some things, so just some things in the article. May also talk about a good conversation piece. I was gonna do a presentation on it. I don't know if we ever had a title or that name, because we done had many conversations on Mossi and on Kofi Piesie TV about the conscious social media community. So I did an article, does the conscious community have good character? So, and I did that back in June of 2019. And I may go live and even talk about that article tonight, or even one day this week. Just also talk about that article and highlight some important information in there. And I know after that, it's a question. I'm just asking everybody, does the conscious
Kofi, if you do that one, let me come in so I can tell the story of what happened this month. Because I got to get it out. I got to get it off my chest.
Okay, well, if I might do it. If I don't do it tonight, I'll do it tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? I'll let
All right,
you.
cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to throw this out to the audience before, and this will be my last statement, so I don't hold nobody. With this time that you have with your children and family, don't ask them what they have been learning. Don't ask them what they know. take some time and ask these babies what they want to learn. See where they at right now and just ask that question at random. Is there anything you want to know? Is there anything you want to learn about? And spend that time to try to mold them into the spirit or character or even the imagination of how they perceive themselves and guide them on that path. Because we don't really get this much time in a typical year to spend with them. So now that we have this opportunity, use that and then take what they say to you and implement what lessons you know already along the way. And I'll chime out on that one. Peace and love to everybody. Get some giggles and smiles on.
Yeah. Anybody else, man, on the panel got any last words, man, before we end the show?
Thank y'all for tuning in, and we see y'all very soon.
All right. You got anything? So Tepera, I know you came in late.
No, I ain't got nothing.
All right, man. Well, peace, man, and Black African power, man, and we'll see y'all soon. Be safe.